Hello and welcome to another video. So today, with Christmas just around the corner, I thought it'd be nice to take a look at a little handy Christmas carve. This is something, again, if you watched my video on the how to carve a mushroom, I'll leave a link up above and the description, you'll be familiar with a lot of the techniques. And this is kind of like maybe a step across or a step above the mushroom. So it's something for a more committed kind of older audience. So if you're working with older children, if you're working with adults, if you're looking to kind of push knife skills further yourself, this is a really nice festive carve. So as with most of carving projects, you're going to need a length of nice straight carvable wood. Now I usually recommend hazel. I use a lot of it because I have a lot of them on my site. Willow, sycamore, so on is relatively easy to find as well, and a good choice. And so you want something nice and straight. Like I say, hazel copses really well, and you can get a lot of wood from a relatively small tree. But because I'm going to try and make life difficult for myself, I found a nice bit of yew, which isn't the straightest either. So we'll have a go, we'll see how I go with that. So if you're interested in learning how to carve a Christmas tree out of some wood, then keep watching and we'll get right into it. So the first thing we're going to look at is marking out our kind of limb sections. So we're going to have, say, one there, another one there, and then there'll be the stem, and then the base is down there. So if you get like a pen or just make a little mark. I go for about a kind of thumb thickness all the way down. Obviously if you make the spacing wide, it'll be easier to carve and be less fiddly, but if you've only got a small piece of wood to work with, it's a good start. So just make a mark everywhere you're going to be carving. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start off with making a point on the end. So this will be the top of our tree. So the cut, if you've got an axe or something, you can get a little bit off to start off with quickly if you're making quite a big tree. Otherwise it's just going to be a matter of just carving in. So start at kind of near the top, work your way around, and then you can work your way around on the corners, gradually working your way downwards and inwards, keeping track of where you want to end up. So I might mark all the way around that. So you may want to stop your cut just short of the line to give it a nice kind of natural edge to keep some of the bark on. But once you've got a point on the top, we're going to come in with a knife or a saw and just sever the fibers all the way around, just so that it'll give us our starting point. So if you go use a saw, I recommend getting quite a fine tooth saw. So like I say, I recommend these silky fine or extra fine saws. And then we're just going to cut in just a little bit all the way around. Once we've cut all the way around, we can then start cutting up towards the stop cut. It'll stop it from splitting all the way up and taking off the edge of our upper branches. So we're going to start at our next line down, and then we'll just go carve up towards this. Take off a little bit to start off with. Just try and take the bark off. This will start to establish your line. I mean, it's less likely to split off the top. So for a lot of this, we're going to be using a thumb push. So the way I teach thumb push is if you point your thumb to where you want to cut, lift the thumb of your holding hand up, put the knife underneath, and then on the back of the knife, on the spine, we can then just gently use that as a levering point. This means it limits your range of motion, but also creates a really strong push. It's a really handy one to know. Once we've gone round once, then we can come around and we can take off the corners and start working our way around. Again, I'm going to be working from just above my lower line straight the way up to my upper line. I can also start to get a sweeping curve. So if I come around this way, so starting quite steep and then coming in. So this will give more of a flowing look to the branches. If the chips aren't coming off, we can just get our knife or saw in to the gap, and sometimes just a little bit of rocking backwards and forwards will free the chips. If you want to deepen the stop cut again, then it might be best to go to saw. But a saw will generally take off quite a bit in one go, whereas a knife is a little bit of a finer tool. Now how thin you go here is up to you and your comfort level. If you want to go really thin and kind of have a spindly branch in between, or whether you want to leave it a little bit chunkier and not risk splitting the top off. Another thing you can do, if you want a bit of a fancier look, you can just go around, and instead of taking the chips off, you can just leave them on the tree like that. Okay, and then all we're going to do from this point on is we're just going to repeat the process. So I'll have another level there, and then I'll go down to the trunk over here. Once we've got to our desired number of branch sets, and we can start thinking about the trunk, we'll just go mark out a section, and then we'll go saw either side. And what we want to do is we want to create quite a straight angle, so it helps if you've still left enough on here that you can then hold this end and work towards the base, and then also be able to work upwards so you have both sides covered. But we're going to make two stop cuts, so one at the top and one at the bottom. So now I'm going to start at the bottom and work up. So kind of similar to the way we've done it before, but this time I want to try and keep the knife as flat and as parallel as possible to the wood. So I'm not digging in and then curving up. I'm not doing that. I'm just trying to shave it as close to flat as possible, at least to start off with. So starting at the bottom line all the way up to the top line. Once I've got to the end of my stop cuts there, the depth of my stop cuts, I'm just going to swap it around and I'm going to work a little bit downwards towards the base. As I said, if you've gone quite thin here, try and work carefully, try not to put too much stress on the upper branches. You may be helpful to get it on a stump. That way you can kind of work downwards, just press down. That, and then you only need to hold the top of your tree very lightly. I mean, you can have a bit of a flare at the bottom of your tree trunk, but I like the straighter look personally. If you have a few stubborn bits right at the bottom that you're struggling to get into either from above or scooping out, you can use a whole hand push. So you'd rest the top of the tree pointing towards you, and then the idea is that we're going to reverse the grip of the knife. So normal would be straight out away from you, so we're just going to reverse it so it's pointing towards the bit in between your thumb and your hand, and then we're just going to support that with our fingers just at the back there. So we can just gently create a carving motion. We are cutting towards ourselves here, but this is a very controlled motion. So as long as you're not using this arm, and even if you are, you're still limited by how far you can go, unless you point it towards yourself, towards yourself. So as long as you keep a small motion, you can then make small controlled cuts. So you can rest it, tree pointing away in this case, I'm just going to push it towards. Again, just using that gentle push there. And there we go, we have a pretty thin trunk of there. I could go a little bit thinner, but I think I'm not going to. I'm quite happy leaving it there, and a crucial part of successful carving is knowing when to stop. So I'm just going to leave that there, and now the next thing is just to decide how much of a base I want, and then we're just going to saw that off there. So there we go. That is pretty much, borrowing a little bit of tidying up, finished tree. As you can probably tell, I'm not a master carver, but it's nice just to have a go and not to be too worried about what the result is. It's part of the process. But as I said, fun little carve. You can see my tree there has a bit of a south lean, so I know which way to point my compass. That's a handy little carve. I hope this is giving you some inspiration to go and have a go on your own, and maybe with some of the groups that you work with. It might be a nice little thing to make either as Christmas presents or little decorations. You could probably also kind of knock the top off, put a little screw in here and use them as decorations on your Christmas tree. All in all, really handy carve. So with that, I want to say, first of all, say a big thank you to Wellness Woodlands for making this video possible. It's great to be back out here. We've had the steam trains running past, which is always nice because that interrupts my filming, gives me a bit of a break. And I've had the sheep in the background, so I'm not completely on my own, but it is nice and quiet. So good to be back here. Thank you so much to Wellness Woodlands. Do check them out if you're looking for a camping experience over in Shropshire. And with that, thank you so much for watching. Remember to make the most of every day. Keep whittling, keep carving, and I'll see you in the next video.